Veteran-owned coffee company serves premium coffee to people who love America. Check it out, blackriflecoffee.com/herd, 20% off your first coffee club order. So Joy went to the dentist for 3 hours this past week. I went yesterday, and it is amazing. I fell into a dentist I got recommended. My dentist is amazing. The gap between good dentist and average dentist is a mile. I have gone to dentists for my whole life, like all of you, and a cleaning can be painful. I could have now a cavity replaced. I could do this show while he's doing it. He's so good. The lasers, his staff, the equipment, the intelligence. He always gives me, kind of a lecture on what to do with your mouth and how it's tied to your stomach. He's just better than every other dentist, and it's not particularly close. And yesterday they're doing doing their stuff, and I'm just sitting there thinking, this is like the Dubai Emirates Airlines of airlines. Like, you can shower on it. You can watch movies. They have a gym. It's like, but it's funny about this in the NFL. We all know there's great coaching staffs, and then there's average coaching staffs. We all know that. We know clearly there are great scouting departments, Saints, and then there are not great scouting departments. This works with the cap, too. The salary cap is very confusing, but some teams, think about the Saints. The Saints have gone from $100 million over the cap to cap compliant in 3 weeks. Why? Because they got a guy named Kai Harley, who is supposed to be a genius. So this guy named Kai Harley with the Saints he's a master. It's just he manipulates the cap, and most of the league gets manipulated by the cap. And I'll give you a great example. Tampa's re-signing everybody. It's an all-star team. Donovan Smith, Chris Godwin, Brady, Gronk, Shaq Barrett, Lamont David. These are like elite players. Chicago, though, and one of the reasons Tampa could do it is, they don't pay Brady anything. Well, Chicago doesn't pay Andy Dalton anything. Chicago pays one skill person, Allen Robinson. They don't pay their quarterback anything. They don't pay their offensive line much. They don't pay their tight end anything. They don't pay their backs much. And they had to let go of their best corner, Kyle Fuller. And by the way, not only did Chicago let him go, there's a $9 million dead cap hit for it. They don't know what they're doing. Chicago's front office does not know what they're doing. They had to let go of their best secondary player. Why? They're not paying Andy Dalton anything. They weren't paying Mitch Trubisky anything. Why? They don't know what they're doing. So, Tampa, literally, they're stacked in defensive line. They're stacked at wide receiver. They're stacked at tight end. They're gifted in the secondary. They're loaded at edge rush. They have a Pro Bowl kicker. It's the reality. You could give two families $100 and say, get food. And one family with $100 could get enough food for a week. Another family would buy gummy bears and Lunchables, and by Tuesday, no food for the kids. Like, some people don't know how to work a budget. Some people don't know how to work a kitchen. Some people don't know how to buy groceries. You go to the grocery store, you've been behind somebody, you're like, his bill's $80, and that stuff's out in 3 days, and then you watch the person that comes up with vegetables, and they've gone green, and it's produce, and you're like, that you could feed a family for 7-8 days with that. It's the same in the NFL. Chicago doesn't know what they're doing. If Andy Dalton's your lead, even the well-run teams like the Colts need a speed receiver. The Chiefs need an interior offensive lineman or a tackle. Everybody's drafting for need except Tampa. They're just drafting for depth. Literally, people are like, they're going to take an interior defensive lineman. Well, they have Ndamukong Suh. Well, they need a linebacker in case Levante David doesn't sign what he did. Well, outside pass rusher. Oh, Shaq Barrett signed too, and Donovan Smith. If you go back to the 2007 Patriots, that Randy Moss team that went undefeated, they had 8 Pro Bowlers, 3 on the offensive line. Now, they had Randy Moss, but that wide receiving core is not close to Tampa's. They had Mike Vrabel, but that linebacking core in New England is not close to as athletic as Tampa's. Well, they had Vince Wilfork. They did. But this defensive line is far greater as a unit than that defensive line. The only area that New England team is better than the Tampa team is offensive line, and I would make a strong argument that the offensive line for Tampa in the last 2 months was unbelievable. Ali Marpet is a top 3 guard in the league. Ryan Jensen's a top 6 to 7 center. Tristan Wirfs, right tackle, looks like a Pro Bowler. That's the weak spot of Tampa. This is the best team Tom Brady's ever played on. They are literally drafting for depth. And don't forget this. They got really good after the bye. And I kind of look at Tampa as 2 seasons. There was the Tom gets signed, no preseason, a lot of turbulence, kind of trying to fit Arians' offense with Brady's offense. And we all watched it on television. It was bumpy. They got crushed by the Saints twice. They got beat by the Bears. They're yelling at each other. It's a lot of ugliness. Then the bye hit. They got 10 days of practice. They sewed it together. And from that point on, 8-0, and the average score was 34-19, and it was the number 1 offense in the NFL. They are literally drafting for depth. That is it. So that bye was like their preseason. It's incredible right now. Their sack differential after the bye was number 1. Their wins were number 1. Their points were number 1. Their point differential was number 1. Their turnover differential was number 2. That's the team coming back for preseason next year. That's the team entering this season. This team is so stacked. And I will say this. The other break they get is the Saints will be worse. Drew Brees is gone. They had to shave Cap. Green Bay could not take their Pro Bowl center, could not get him or J.J. Watt. Probably not quite as good on the offensive line. They do a good job in Green Bay to develop offensive lines, but probably won't be as good as when you lose the best center in the game or the second best center. You're probably not going to be as good. Seattle's been noisy as heck. Dallas still can't figure out their defense. I mean, this is the best team they've ever been on. They're going to re-sign Ndamukong Suh. And Donovan Smith got $31 million. They are completely stacked. I mean, the weakness on this team last year was offensive line. It was dominant in the end of the year, and secondary, mostly because it was young. Also, this is a franchise that drafts incredibly well, so you might as well put 3 or 4 more really talented guys on this roster. Wow. Zion Williamson's going crazy. We love that.
There's something to learning from an all-time great, and obviously the talent doesn't transfer, but learning the process of how to do something does transfer into longevity.
No
and
question.
That you are what you habitually do. So if you're learning from somebody who does things well habitually and that rubs off on you, that can help your career. But I do see Jameis as the starter next season. So Mac Jones had a strong showing at his Alabama Pro Day yesterday. Reps from all 32 NFL teams were in attendance to watch him. Jones wasn't that impressed with his performance, saying he could have thrown it better and was frustrated with the few that he missed. But Daniel Jeremiah reported that he thought Jones had a solid workout, describing him as smooth, comfortable, and poised. I know you are very...
I don't want to be a negative guy. I don't want to get too much into, he was a little faster than people thought. I just don't think, like if you're a trust fund kid, that you're going to struggle in your life if you get into chaotic situations and you have to overcome stuff because you're not built to overcome it. There's a reason none of these Alabama quarterbacks work. They never trail. Mac Jones didn't trail in the second half of any game he played last year. Oh, by the way, he never got hit. Oh, by the way, his receivers are wide open. Oh, by the way, he always had a better game plan. I'm not saying you can't work, but you start looking at what works in the NFL. What should really happen, because the best quarterbacks go to the biggest schools. If it was just that easy, this linear process that USC always has a top 5 quarterback, so does Clemson, so does Alabama, so does Ohio State, so does Oklahoma, then why, when you look around the NFL, are the quarterbacks starring in this league from Texas Tech and Purdue? Because those experiences collegiately ready you for the chaos you'll deal with in the NFL. Alabama's a trust fund kid. You're walking in, and it's like, oh, I've never trailed in a football game with 8 minutes to go, and everybody in the world knows I have to pass, and I have a bad O-line. You never experience. Matt Ryan didn't throw to a single NFL player at Boston College. So by the time he got to the NFL, it's like, yeah, my windows are small. Nobody was ever wide open. Everybody for Mac Jones is wide open, and I just don't think it translates. That's why Alabama quarterbacks are great in college and don't do anything in the NFL. Look at Tua.
That was my question about Tua. And then when you get the scout on him, that he's a rhythm quarterback and everything is kind of have to be on schedule.
Yes.
What happened in the Super Bowl with what everyone agrees with is the best quarterback talent in the league currently, Patrick Mahomes, when things fell apart? He couldn't make it happen. And he was flying sideways, flipping it backwards, and still hitting people in the helmet, and he couldn't get it done. So there's no way that you can translate not having any kind of adversity to the NFL. Like, we've seen it. It's like, what Alabama quarterback has worked? Now, clock's still on Tua, but I'm not a believer as of yet.
Right.
I don't want to be down on Mac Jones either, but I was never high on Mac Jones throughout the season. So I'm like, it's not, I don't expect him to make this big jump. And that's not to say that he's not going to have an NFL career. There are plenty of quarterbacks like this who need to be on schedule, who need things to be perfect, who have great careers as backups.
By the way, what if